Oh, these are our ground rules, and I want to just make sure that you all are okay with them. The first one is we really want everybody to participate. You can't get your voice in terms of long range policy if you don't kind of start with this process today. Really easy one, listen first to be understood. Listen first to understand, then speak to be understood. So it's always good to ask probing questions of your other participants, and feel free to do that. And then everyone is an equal participant. Try to kind of think about the county as a whole, all of the residents. No disparaging or negative comments about any ideas. So this is kind of an idea process that will kind of weed down, and you'll get a second chance. And so tonight, let's kind of try to be open to everyone's thoughts. We will allow for some pros and cons of each ideas, or the ideas we talk about next time. And then agree to disagree, but don't be disagreeable. And we encourage brainstorming. And I know some of you have your laptops up, and that's great. If you would kind of make sure that you, I know you guys will like to, when we start to wordsmith, everybody loves to get their laptops up. So that's great. But if you can kind of keep your side conversations and cell phones and kind of work on your laptop to a minimum, so we can look at each other and discuss these important issues. So with that, we're going to go around the horn and ask people to share with the others what their session aspirations are for tonight. And just a few words about kind of what you'd like to accomplish tonight and for the next session. And so I'm going to start over here with Commissioner Johnson. Yeah.
Right. I feel like I need to pass the baton to the right. When we adopted this budget, I was not in favor of it because it had a deficit. And so I think the word that I heard was, this is transitionary. And so the natural question I have, and I guess I would just put this down as my point, is how do we define transitionary and that be accomplished? I want that to be accomplished in this session, during these two sessions, that we figure out how to replenish the fund balance. So I want to know what transition means and how we're planning on to transition our budget and also replenish our fund balance. I think I'll stop there.
Great. All right.
Well, I think that before we get to the nuts and bolts of fund balance and spending, I think it's time for us to really just reestablish what is our shared vision for where we want this community to go and what are our shared priorities. And then right away, we have a roadmap for where we spend money. We spend money on priorities and we limit the spending of money on things that aren't priorities. So I'd like us to reestablish a shared vision and reestablish what our shared top priorities are. And that is great guidance.
Okay, great. Commissioner Bynum.
Thanks, Mayor and fellow commissioners and administrator. I want you all to know that I sincerely tried to win the Powerball. And one of the things you always think to yourself what you would do, I was going to take care of us. That didn't happen. So back to this work. I would like to come away from our two sessions with maybe some good strategies, goals or strategies for frankly, revenue enhancement. If we can also have some strategies for cost reduction, I think that would be great. But right now, it just doesn't feel very feasible with the way costs are just getting higher on almost everything. So I just don't know that you can cut your way to a balanced budget. So I'd like us to be thinking together about revenue enhancement.
Commissioner Burrows.
Well, I look to hopefully come out of this with some support in finding commissioners that want to work on a structurally balanced budget. One that looks at reducing overall spending versus increasing taxes to meet our financial obligations. I'd like to see us become more efficient, more responsive. And the concerns that are raised by the public. But more importantly, I think in order to accomplish any of those, we need to create a cohesive commission synergy and build trust with one another.
Okay. All right, Mayor Garner.
Thank you. Just mine are simple, just identify essential services. I think that's really key. One of the things that I'm looking at, as well as identifying what are priorities, what are the priority needs for our community. I know one thing that resonates across the county, no matter where you go, all four corners and everything in the middle, is the taxes or the perception of high taxes, pilot and relief in that area. And I think we need to really look at how do we best streamline government responsibly and find cost savings and reductions in a way that we can operate more effectively and efficiently, while also trying to enhance and improve customer service, which some say is a problem, and then making sure that it's community driven. And when it's community driven, we need to look at a balanced budget to make sure that we trying to sustain the economic health of our unified government going into that red line that is either between 2026 and 2027, and then trying to find cohesively, like we all know, coming together as a unified body, this government being the voices of our community to really define what we need to do to anchor development and people right here in Wyandotte County, and to use that anchor to broaden our tax base. And what does that look like? And how to do that responsibly when you talk about jobs and you talk about big businesses and incentives, streamlining the economic development process in a way that makes it more accessible for both entrepreneurs and big businesses that want to do business here, but just doing that responsibly. So people pay their fair share, that really have the ability to do it, and that people that where we want to spark investment in the disinvested and disenfranchised areas, that we look at how to better do that in a way through investments that hopefully can spark additional investments in those areas and really lift all of Wyandotte County so we can become resilient and resurgent and really a key player in the Kansas City metropolitan area.
Great. Let's go to Commissioner Markley.
Well, the budget is about allocating funds, but we should be allocating the funds based on strategy. So over the past decade, we've really worked to extend the budget discussion so that we can have more of that strategy time. And I think this is just more of the same. What happens is we kind of get into that budget period and it becomes all about the money, and it's too late to implement strategies that are going to save us money that day. So what I hope we come out of these sessions with are some strategies that we can implement today. So when we get to the budget discussion later in the year, we know what savings we're accumulating and we can incorporate that into the next budget instead of sitting at the budget table and going, gosh, we should have done that 6 months ago. So we would have saved some money and then we'd be in a better position. So we need some strategies that are concrete that we can implement. And we also just need to establish that vision so that when we come to the budget, instead of just talking money, we can talk about why are we giving money, where we're giving it. And I think that's critical.
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. I think the first thought or word that comes to my mind is a foundation. I think it's a little unrealistic to think in 2 sessions we're going to be able to solve issues that have been here for decades. But if we can set a foundation by which we can gather consensus on what the political will is, for our community, and marry political will with what the data says, what professional standards are, what best practices are, then we have found the secret sauce. And so I hope we set a foundation for us finding consensus on organizational goals and priorities, And I also hope that we can set the foundation for a pathway to deliver for our community. And so I see this as kind of a framework to set us up for something bigger and better that will probably take, more than 2 sessions, but we can get a lot done in 2 hours.
Great. Commissioner Swett.
I think it's important that we identify our needs versus our wants. And then how we accomplish those needs, how we get there without putting the burden solely on our taxpayers and forcing them to make decisions, whether they have to leave, move out of our county because of the taxes are too high. It's not a perception, it's a reality. Our taxes are too high. And then also to make sure that the shortcomings of the city side of the budget doesn't negatively affect the rest of the county and the other cities in our county.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you. We are not just here in Wyandotte County, but throughout the world. Our lives have changed due to COVID. Our economy has changed, society has changed, politically we have changed. And so I think we need to adapt to that change. And that comes with relooking at our priorities, what our essential services are, because what are essential services now were maybe completely different 3 years ago before COVID. And so I think what I want to accomplish in these 2 sessions is that reprioritization, is looking at what are those new essential services that our community wants after we've had this change in our society and in our economy.
Thanks. Commissioner Kane.
Well, I think we lost the secret sauce. And, maybe this has something to do with the budget, maybe it doesn't. But we're having commission meetings that are lasting 7.5 hours. In my mind, that's ridiculous. We have standing committees for a reason. So we run these things by the standing committee instead of bringing them to the commission. So we have to vote on them that night. That's not fair to us. And we have to follow the system that's set in play so we can make the decisions across the board. But when somebody throws a curveball in and says, well, this is what I want to bring to you. Well, wait a minute. Did that go through standing committee? No. And then our commission meetings are so long that our people Gail fell asleep. I mean, that's the bottom line. And yeah, it's funny, but it happened. People are falling asleep. We're losing focus. In my former life, and then in my current life, we just talked about this a second ago. I'm going to give a presentation next Thursday. I have 5 minutes to describe all the elections that just happened across the state of Kansas. We need to get back to the keep it simple, stupid, the KISS theory. And then, for a commission, we're more tight than most people think. And I've been here for a long time, and it's always been 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 or whatever. But we've got to narrow down what we're working on, give us time, and quit having these meetings, because a lot of us have to be at work first thing in the morning. The complaint I'm getting in the community right now is I can't stay up that late. So they're not going to stick around looking for a budget because it's 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I don't know about you, but we go much past 3 or 4 hours, you've lost it. And I think we need to correct the ship, get the secret sauce back, and do the right thing for the community.
Great, thank you. So the next thing that we're going to do is really try to focus on taking those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges that you've already identified through some of the work that's been done, the UG Forward, the Kansas Leadership Center session, some of the discussions that perhaps you've had in the budget process and some of the long meetings that you've had. And then also we'll roll back in kind of ETC citizen survey to kind of address kind of what you're saying, Commissioner Ramirez, about what do the citizens want? How has that changed? How are those services desirable, and what are the satisfaction levels? And so we're going to spend a little bit of time on that tonight. And to kind of set the stage for that, I would like to ask Cheryl Harrison Lee to kind of give a summary of those initiatives And then we will start in with conversations to really think about how can we use that data and information as a jumping off point.
So thank you, Interim County Administrator Cheryl Harrison Lee. So let's go to the next slide, please. First, I want to review the work that we've done in 2022 with the Kansas Leadership Center as well as UG Forward.
Let me get your thing down.
Okay, thank you. So KOC conducted a retreat on March 24th with the goal of helping the mayor, commission, and county administration diagnose the collective challenges and inspirations. We had a shortened meeting time, but we got a lot of good information from this session. First, Mr. O'Malley facilitated a discussion regarding the greatest concern and greatest aspirations from the elected body, and these were the responses. We talked about status quo and changing our status quo, moving from, since we are first-class city, making sure that we have first-class city expectations. We talked a little bit about branding and the image of the community. We also talked about perhaps our greatest strength could also be a concern that could be adversarial, which is diversity and some of the disparities that we have. We also talked about talent and making sure that in an era of talent shortages, that staff has the resources to do their job. We also had conversation about tax relief and balancing that with providing infrastructure. We also talked about engagement, making sure that we engage staff and the community as we look at the internal and external efforts, and then the fear of failure, of becoming a failed community. On the flip side of that, our aspirations were, there is a strong sense of pride in this community. Employees as well as residents are just proud to be from the dot. And when you're not a dot, you say, okay, I'm a semicolon, working to be a dot. It's a great place to live, work, and play. We talked about the need to have more extensive communication and better communication, and that we change the internal and external perception of the community. We know that the median household income is higher, but we need to retain those workers in the community. And that we have great neighborhoods across this community, so we should be addressing blight. And finally, making Wyandotte County second to none, a place where residents are proud to call home and businesses continue to seek to expand. So the next topic that Mr. O'Malley talked about was, so if we have all these great aspirations and we already understand what our weakness is, then why is it so hard? What makes progress hard? And key themes were, well, we really have to involve the community. We can't do this alone. We can't solve this with just the budget alone. And we can't be paralyzed by this fear of loss, change, or fear of the unknown. We must have a mentality of, we're all in this together. And because we have limited resources, we can't have unlimited solutions. Knowing that we can't please everyone, we must have a shared vision. We cannot have silos, and we have to figure out how to balance competing and conflicting priorities. So then, following the Kansas Leadership Retreat, we had the facilitator talk with the mayor and talk with the commissioners. And you'll remember that Mr. O'Malley called each of you and had a conversation. And the three themes that came up were infrastructure, tax relief, and looking at the quality of basic services. Other important themes were our current approach with communicating, making sure that we don't have communication inhibiting our progress, making sure that we're cohesive, making sure that we spend more time conversing about the hopes and aspirations, and then working together towards a collaborative solution. And then the fear of, while we are in a talent crunch and we have the great resignation, how do we retain our staff? How do we invest in our staff? And making sure that we are out in the community, it is community driven, and that we're listening to our residents. So the conclusions from KLC were, we need a healthy process to discuss and formulate policy matters. And we must make some progress on those substantive issues, or we will have a difficult time making sure that we advance priorities. So I want to move forward to UG Forward and just talk briefly about the initiatives of UG Forward. As we celebrate our 25th year anniversary of consolidation, UG Forward is an important opportunity to reimagine the next 25 years following the DEI framework. You'll recall when I was announced as the interim, I talked about D for discover, E for evaluate, I for identify, and F for focus. Discover new ways to strengthen engagement among residents and the local business community, as well as throughout government. Evaluating, looking at our centers of excellence, as well as those opportunities for enhancement or improvement. Identifying economic development opportunities that create access, equity, and shared prosperity for all residents of the community, focusing on those underserved areas where we may not have made investments historically. And then finally, focusing on superior customer service as a daily practice. So we move forward as we prioritize those, and we've made some successes. We implemented many of the short-term initiatives from the organizational audits, including the realignment of our departments. We focus on the components that matter, people and finances. And we started conversations about strategic planning efforts. And tonight, we're starting the conversations about strategic planning from a financial perspective for 2024. And the huge lift was adopting a transitional 2023 budget. And thank you all for all of those sessions to get us to a budget that we got across the finish line. And finally, focusing on readiness for a permanent county administrator. Additionally, I began the process of evaluating and aligning the organization with some best practices, looking at opportunities for cost savings, as well as trying to increase transparency and increased efficiency. Looking out, we'll be kicking off the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Looking at, through that plan, developing priority areas so that we can create an equitable growth strategy. Continuing to invest in our workforce. As we adopted the budget, we increased our investment in our staff. And finally, looking at a leadership development program that will focus on continuous process improvement, that will look at process refinement and organizational culture through DOT leads. I'll entertain any questions at this time. Okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to our facilitator.
Okay, that was just, let's see here. Just wanted to give you a brief reminder of the work that's been done that kind of got you to this place today. And so we are going to step back to the previous vision statement that you're operating under currently, and we're going to review that and think about, are those elements still relevant today for us? Is that the direction that we want to go? And we can make a decision if we want to just scrap that and start over, or if you want to kind of refine it. And so I want to kind of just give you a little bit of a differentiation between a mission and a vision, because oftentimes when we work with groups, they try to put a mission in the vision. And so the mission is really about what the organization does to accomplish the vision, if that makes sense. So when you think about the mission, it's the mission of the unified government to deliver high quality, efficient services and be a resource to our residents. We are innovative, inspired public servants focused on the community's wants and needs. And this is something that was developed at the last strategic planning process that the commission went through. The staff worked on the mission and brought it back to you, if you remember. So it's really about how do you accomplish the overall community vision. And then the community vision is really something that it's supposed to be short. You should be able to kind of think about it in chunks and kind of remind you. It's almost like your elevator speech, right? So it needs to be inspirational, future forward and be something that would energize the organization and the community and speaks to them about why they chose this community and would continue to be here. So this was the one that we had from the last time that you're operating under today, uniquely Wyandotte, a vibrant intersection of diversity, opportunity, and distinctive neighborhoods, an engaged community, healthy, fulfilled, and inspired. And so just wondering what y'all's thoughts are about this vision statement. Are there things that you think are missing? And let's just kind of have a conversation about it. Thoughts about it.
Commissioner Bynum, I do still like it. But I also, we have new people here and, you know, this is 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a refresh is never a bad idea. There are words in it that I like. I like the word vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
I like distinctive neighborhoods. Healthy is an aspiration. You know, healthy, fulfilled, and inspired. I guess if it's an aspirational statement, then those are good words because we are aspiring to those words.
Okay.
I mean, there's
Anybody?
still some value there, I think.
Sure. Commissioner McKiernan.
As I look back on it now, I think, and engage, as we talk about the second bullet, the community bullet, there's two words that just leaped into my brain as being missing: prosperous and successful. Now, I don't know how, we'll eventually all work that out, but those are the two words that just jumped into my mind as being missing from the community piece.
Okay. Other thoughts about it? Yeah, Commissioner Ramirez.
I agree with Commissioner Bynum of the first bullet point. It's a vibrant intersection of diversity, opportunity, and distinctive neighborhoods. When I read that, that's Wyandotte.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we are. The second most diverse county in our country, not just the state, but in our country. I really do like that first bullet point. It just, once I see it, once you read it, you know Wyandotte County already.
Okay, great. Other people's thoughts? Yeah, Commissioner Johnson.
I do think it's important for our newer commissioners to weigh in on that. I think that's Davis and Stikes that weren't part of it. I don't want to call them out, but I just think it's important.
You just did.
Well, I'm just saying I appreciate your voice and want to hear your voice at the table. So, but yeah, I do think that bullet one is stating who we are, and bullet two is stating who we see ourselves being.
Yeah.
In the soon future. So
great.
I still like it. Maybe it could be tweaked a little bit, but I think it still is relevant right now. But
great. Mayor.
I like that statement and it's a good statement. But I think we need to include equity. When you talk about our community, and I call it the economic segregation divide from east to west. The disinvested, the disenfranchised, the red line areas of our community, the pockets of poverty that we know exist, those voices that feel like they've been left behind. Those, we need to really pay close attention to that. And one thing that really stands out to me, because I worked here for 32 years, is equity. That sounds good, but we need to look at the inner workings of this unified government. You talk about a vibrant intersection of diversity. We need to make sure that all these phrases, and when we talk about this, that it's reflective in this unified government itself, especially in positions of decision-making where you have an opportunity for underrepresented classes, minorities, to be relevant and at the table and not feel that they're marginalized and they're left behind. And so everybody equitably, not that anybody wants anything more, but everybody feels like they have the same level of opportunity and a seat at the table that so many internally and in this community feel like they've been left out of that equation. And so these are problems and that elephant in the room that we don't like to talk about. But when we talk about a vision for Wyandotte County, no one should feel like they've been left out, left behind, or that they don't have a voice or a seat at the table. And so I think it's really incumbent on the unified government to take a hard look at itself. And I know our health department is really doing a good job of that, outlining some of these blind spots and that narrative that I'm talking about. And we really need to work harder to make sure that we are an inclusive, diverse organization that's reflective of this community. Because diversity does matter. And it's not so much about black and white. It's about making sure that we have a reflective workforce that is culturally connected to the community they serve, so they feel comfortable getting out in the community and having hard conversations and being able to communicate effectively to the residents in our neighborhood, and that our residents will feel comfortable having those types of conversations with their leadership in the unified government. And then making sure that our employees, no matter who they are, be it through training, mandatory training of cultural sensitivity, I can go down the line. But let them get out in the community to really engage, sometimes with people that don't look like them, maybe don't come from cultural backgrounds as them. So everybody feels like they're valued, and really just work harder to be a more inclusive, unified government for all those that want to call Wyandotte County home.
Right now, some of the terms that you all are saying, yes.
Did you have Commissioner Markley had her hand up before I did? Or Kane, okay. Kane, Markley, then me.
Well,
That's beauty before like.
I was just gonna say, I like the first bullet too. And I like a lot of the words we're saying, but I would caution a vision statement is supposed to be memorable. And if we can't have a list of 12 terms, then it becomes not memorable and not valuable. So you want it to be something that's memorable. It's like an ad campaign. This is our ad campaign. And if we start making a list of 20 things we want to be, we do want to be all of those things. Don't get me wrong, but nobody's going to remember that list of 20 terms.
Okay, fine. He ceded to me. And again, Mayor, I didn't want to leave you out. Your voice, you've already given your voice, but I wasn't leaving you out, but thank you. I think that what you were saying though really ties into the second bullet in terms of what we desire to be in terms of equity and inclusiveness, rather than who we are or who we think we are versus. So I just wanted to make that point.
So it sounds like there's pretty good consistency on the first part that people like that. Maybe the second part could be tweaked a little bit to use language that would include, I think, healthy, fulfilled, and inspired. Some of these words, prosper, kind of, I remember prosper getting thrown out. And yes, I remember that. And it was like, that was kind of fulfilled, right? So, but those are kind of words we can kind of switch out if you want to think about that. But this idea of kind of equity, inclusion, belonging for all, maybe there's a way that we can do that for all or something like that. Would speak to that, make it still short, but more inclusive. Commissioner King.
The two words that up there, well, there's actually several words: diversity, opportunity, and inspire. We do a terrible job of going to our high schools and presenting the jobs that we posted today. We're losing people because they're going to go somewhere else. They don't know we have these jobs. Yeah, you can get on the internet, you can do whatever you want, but I don't know why I wouldn't go to all the high schools and say, here's what we have. Here's an opportunity, and inspire those people to come here. Because we've done a terrible job of saying we have retirement, we have healthcare, we pay this much. We pay more than some of the surrounding municipalities in certain jobs. But if we don't tell them, they don't know.
Okay, so Commissioner Davis.
So I take this as a different approach. I do not believe that is a vision statement.
Okay,
I think that is more description, not direction.
okay,
If a vision statement is supposed to be future forward and it's supposed to tell me where are you going or what are you aspiring to do, there's not a lot of doing.
right.
Right.
So a
It's
vision
more-
statement's really like a description of what you want to be when you get there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes. So I guess, and I don't know, I'm even struggling with like that first sentence of like exactly how are we kind of structuring that. But I think from a overall standpoint, I agree with Mayor Garner. Equity, absolutely. But I would also throw in compassion. We're a very generous and loving community, and we do not talk about that enough. We don't talk about how much we give. We don't talk about the work that we do for those that are marginalized. I mean, we are very, very compassionate. We're very innovative. I think because of the struggles, whether they be systemic racism or redlining or, the issues within, it has caused innovation both within the unified government and within our community. Not fairness, we talk about innovation, we talk about compassion, we talk about fairness as well, generosity, and that kind of goes with equity, with fairness, generosity, with compassion. But those are some of the things that I would like to see within that statement, and something that gives it that oomph, right? If you think about other companies, I was looking up like, Nike, they have like Just Do It. Tesla's like, we want to be like the leading electric car. Like, that's what I'm thinking when I think of a vision statement. And I think that's what we should be thinking about as well.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm looking at Ashley. I'm like, bring us our words. But because I know she's back there thinking. Picking up off of what Commissioner Davis said, I like the compassionate piece, because again, I've told you guys this over and over again, and you've all seen it. But when on like March 11th of 2020, when it was go home, take your laptop and stay, what I saw in this community was unlike anything I've ever witnessed. Again, through my lens, which is nonprofit oriented, and then within this government. And I watched people do incredible things very quickly to take care of their neighbors. And for example, with our staff, to make sure this government kept functioning. And so I don't know if that's worth trying to capture, because that's too many words. But the other thing, I'm also kind of keying in on like Walmart, save money, live better, done. So there's that piece where maybe it's just a couple words. But anyway, I'm keying back in on what I saw us do for one another when that pandemic hit.
Great. Yep.
Very quickly, I would throw in the word resilient. I mean, I along with compassion and equity, talk about diversity, there's a resilient aspect of Wyandotte County where, I mean, we do have a chip on our shoulder. I've said it before that we are sometimes treated as the stepchild of the Kansas City metro area. And, when you have a chip on your shoulder, like you carry it around, and you have to be proud, and you have to carry your community with pride. And so maybe throw pride up there as well. The pride, resilient, compassion, equity. Those are some of the things that I would use to describe us.
Okay, great. Anyone else have any thoughts? Okay, we are not going to wordsmith this right now. I'm going to do it during the break. Maybe we can get Ashley up here to help us with that during the break. But so it sounds like we kind of want to start with the concepts that we have here. Where do we want to be? How do we want to describe ourselves into the future? And try to think about if these words add to it, and if it can enhance it a little bit. So our next activity, we're going to get into doing some, sorry, your microphone, I keep messing it up. Blue sky thinking. And so if you grab out of your, go into your tube, and you'll have a little sticker in there that looks like it's a thought bubble sticker above there. And pull that out, and also pull out one of the magic markers that are in there for you. And we're going to go to this next slide. So I want you to take a few minutes and think about this question. and this is not the case. So this is blue sky thinking, right? So this is kind of how we start to get down to what our priorities are. If resources were not an issue, what change would you make that would have the biggest impact on the community other than the lottery? I guess we've already decided that didn't work. So go ahead and on each of the thought bubbles, write an idea that you have on the thought bubble. And then we're going to kind of put those all, group them together and see where we have some consistency. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think individually and pull out your thought bubble. Maybe somebody could hold that up. Can you hold that up for me? Yep, there you go. And write on there. Sure, yeah. Yeah. So we're going to just blue sky thinking. We're going to go, if resources were not an option or not a limitation for you, it wasn't a limitation. What would you change would you make to improve the community and kind of reach that ultimate vision that you're looking for? So what would have the biggest impact on the community? What change would you make? You get just a couple of them. Okay. Okay. Organize your stickers. Yeah, there, it's okay. Yeah, there's no differentiation, just different types. Oh. Few minutes there.
Wait a minute. You're giving us way too much credit again. Your kid.
Now my most recent over here with Lewis was you have baseball. I know, probably helping a lot. Like,
Oh.
Your resources. I said your resources. Your number of bubbles are. When I grew up. Really?
Create it.
Yeah, wait a minute. Who is those old dogs now?
Give you more minutes. More minutes. Right. Okay, we're gonna start with Commissioner Markley because she followed the rules. And would you present one of your items?
Fix existing infrastructure.
Okay, let's go with Commissioner Davis.
I don't think anybody put this one, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So, and this is just me. It'd be free therapy, counseling, and job services.
Okay, so free services for therapy, job counseling, and job services. Anybody else have that
Can I ask the judges for a clarification?
one? Sure.
Well, fully fund all services, quote, for the public good. Okay. Judges say no.
We need another judge.
You have something similar? You said job sauce.
I think that serves, yeah.
Judge will approve that.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, like you listen, like you follow the rules. You're gonna call me out? Customer service.
Does anybody have improved customer service?
Just don't care.
Yeah.
I put down on the other.
We're just drinking with it.
Okay, let's go to Commissioner Rivera.
Oh, was I supposed to give my?
Increase health department funding.
Increase
Increase.
health department funding. Anybody else have that?
Yeah.
If they get any more money, we're gonna own the place.
Okay,
You got my two.
okay, that's it. All right, I'll come back over here
So is he
to,
doing?
Commissioner Johnson.
I cheat. That's how I got out of high school.
My top one is, first one at least, bring a world-class sporting economic development project to downtown Kansas City, Kansas.
Wow. They have something similar to that.
Equitable development.
There you go. I like specificity though.
I would like to see a sports field downtown. It's cool.
Okay.
Mhm.
Commissioner Stern.
Yeah.
The last one is cut the property tax multiplied by 50%.
Wow. Anybody else have something about?
I have some things.
Similar?
Similar, I said lower property taxes immediately and issue rebate checks.
Okay.
I love it.
Anybody else?
I'll take one.
We're not handing them out.
I need to get a ruling. So I just put general affordability. And that would, and what I meant by that, there's some subcategories to that. Which would be, taxes, housing.
Okay.
Under, that would fall under.
We've got affordable.
What?
housing.
Did you look at mine?
No.
Hmm.
Okay.
You need some rules.
My last one is build a brand new animal shelter.
I thought about this.
Anybody else? People thought about it. but didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. That'd have been a good one.
All right.
Code enforcement, clean up our community.
I am more codes. Bingo.
Anybody else? Okay. Mayor,
I'm out.
you're out. Commissioner Martin, do you have another? Reports. Marks.
I would have written one.
Hell, how about we have it?
I'm out.
Okay, are you out? You're out?
I have one.
Do you have any more?
No,
You're out? Okay.
I got these.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My last one. My last one is more support for small businesses.
Okay, more support for small businesses. We have one like that.
Thanks, Chuck.
Unless it's a small business survey, Margaret.
True, true.
Create an area or place in Wyandotte County where our diverse cultures can come together to celebrate, educate, and engage with one another.
Like a person?
Community center and pool that out there at the.
Oh,
No, also come on to these.
Yeah, one big one.
Out.
I agree.
Streetlights, homes, whatever, just light it up, reduces crime.
Candles.
Creates public safety.
Yeah. I only had 3.
Oh, that's right. You found.
Mine was efficient government, provide services in a cost-effective and efficient manner.
Oh,
I think that was wrote in with somebody else earlier.
Customer service, that'd fall under customer service.
Stealing your ideas, Chuck. See?
Probably looked at mine too.
Really fill it out, but I'm going to take this and say become a digital empire.
Okay.
Digital empire.
Okay.
I don't
What's that?
I don't know what that means, but okay.
That's pretty major.
So, what is good about that is there seems to be some, pretty good consistency in terms of infrastructure. There were 7, of you that selected infrastructure. And also kind of this, concept of equitable, economic development, or trying to, think about some economic development projects, that impact some of the neighborhoods or the communities in a good positive way that aren't being, really, looked at right now. Property tax reduction, code enforcement got a few, and just making things overall more affordable. So these things are also the ones that we're going to talk about today. So that's great. The majority of these are on our agenda for the rest of the. Good job, people. You kind of made that work out, right? All right, we're going to kind of go ahead and start through that then. And we have another activity today, but first I wanted to kind of bring in the information from the citizen survey. So some of you said like customer satisfaction. What are citizens and residents satisfied with in terms of services? And then also what do they think needs improvement? And so and what are most important to that? So as you recall, there was the questions really did focus on satisfaction and priority. And so we're going to kind of roll that into some of the work that was presented earlier about the different priorities, as well as the ones that you just listed as well, and see if we can kind of narrow this down to some of the service areas that would be priority moving forward. And so I'm going to move this back for a second so y'all can see better. So the citizen survey was broken into a couple different ways that they kind of dice the data. They broke it into what they called neighborhood problems or issues. They also broke it into county level issues. And the third one is escaping me. Does anybody remember what it was? It was county level and neighborhood issues. And then I think it was public safety or basic services overall. And so what I've done within a worksheet that you have in your tube, pull it out, it's the big long one. It's the left side. I've listed those services in order of the, it's a number associated with both the cross section of satisfaction and priorities, I think it is indicated. So, for example, if you looked at the neighborhood ones just by themselves, some of the things they talked about that they were experiencing was crime. Some of the major problems, the number one major problem was drugs, and the second one was crime. The third was street racing, illegal guns. So those were kind of the top three in terms of. And then other things that it looks like maybe has gone down over the years, the abandoned junk vehicles, not a problem or a minor problem. So that's some of the information that's included on there. This kind of like is basically what some of the neighborhood problems and issues are. And then when you bring in what services have to do with addressing some of those issues, they were asked again, what is a priority in terms of service, concentrating on these services for improvement, and what are you satisfied with? So when you really think about the basic cross section of that, you'll see those are listed here on what you think, what the citizens think most emphasis for improvement over the next years are for neighborhood and community services, not the departments, but just overall. So maintenance of city streets, which you all were talking about infrastructure earlier, number one by far, 72% listed it as a top or first, second, third, or fourth choice. Police services was second, code enforcement was third, parks and recreation facilities and trash collection, recycling were third or fourth and fifth. And so those were some of the top ones that were in terms of just neighborhood service. When you get to county level services, property tax administration was the service that should receive the most emphasis for improvement over the next 2 years. Motor vehicle registration, and then some of the services that for seniors, public health services, and services for developmental disability.
You have background on from the survey of what the first one means?
The property tax administration, probably, I would say probably what that question would have been is which services need the most improvement. And so at that, you're probably any county that you go to, that's going to be number one, because that's the one that everybody has interaction with. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I pay my taxes, but my mortgage company does it. So I would say I have zero interaction ever as a homeowner. I do, however, have motor vehicle. I don't know if that's what that means. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, if I remember the conversation that we had with, I'm blanking on the name, the folks that had administered the survey, because I'd asked a similar question. And their response was, the question itself was on administration, but how it was perceived was probably on the cost of paying your property tax bill.
I'm guessing that's.
So that's probably why it's not the administration, it's just
Right.
the property taxes are too high. That's how it was probably perceived.
Yeah, so it's I think that's a little bit and some of these I think you can interpret when we get into the spreadsheet and you're kind of ranking these, we can have a conversation about, how do people perceive those services, right? But just kind of as background, those were all asked and summarized for you kind of separately. So I thought it was important to try to bring them together. Here's the fourth category was parks, recreation facilities and services. And so you can see the top two there by far were access to walking and biking trails and overall park and equipment maintenance.
So Sheila, you got the hand raised here. Mike.
Yep, Mike. Yes, you're jumping ahead. I know you want to get out. Okay. But just trying to show you a little bit of more detail, but then we'll jump in and combine all these, right? And so then the codes and ordinances, which was another one of the improvement areas that you talked about. residents agreed in terms of codes, and the cleanup of parks, trash, and debris citywide was number one. Mowing and cleanup of debris in the neighborhoods was number two. And so when you bring all those together, public safety, sorry, one more, public safety, police visibility in residential neighborhoods, and community appearance and maintenance, which is not necessarily what you would think of as police services, but it does impact perception of public safety. We're right together. Yep.
We've always lumped public safety together.
With that.
We've always lumped public safety together, police, fire, and sheriffs.
And this is even the way that this was administered, even have kind of community appearance and perception of crime included in that question, those questions.
And I'm gonna do it my way.
What's that?
I'm gonna do it my way.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, you can sure do that. And then animal control, you talked about a facility, that's been an ongoing one, and then community policing. So just wanted you to kind of see them when they were grouped together, and now we're gonna have you go through and think about the priorities that you have in the budget today and what some of those services are. So we'll go through this and I'll explain to you, I'll get back down. Here we go. So priorities, what I'd like you to do is to look at these numbers over here. This is the citizen survey combined importance and satisfaction survey, which they call investment priorities. I kind of categorize them by different assets, community appearance, basic services, and public safety and health. So it would help you kind of think about it in terms of that outcome. And then it's in the order of that investment priority from the citizen survey. Now you have a lot of other data that you've considered in your budget development and in your policy setting or priority setting. And so what I'd like you to do is to go through the list, front and back, Commissioner Kane, both sides, and think about the top 10. Sorry, I'm talking too close. Top 10. So 1 to 10, highest priority. Number 1 is the highest. Number 10 would be the 10th highest priority in terms of investment, making more investment or making some kind of modification, doing some best practice, whatnot. Go ahead, Mr. Commissioner Kernan.
Just clarifying here, because when these questions were asked, they were segregated into city services, county services.
Right.
You've lumped everything together here.
All together.
And you're asking regardless of. Okay.
Yes, and I know we budget those funds all differently, but I'm just kind of trying to give you a sense of when you're asking for the intersection of importance and satisfaction, and the scores, the scale is the same for city and county. So it should kind of help you consider those as a entire group, if that makes sense. The first column is 1 to 10 highest priorities. The second column, just put down the bottom, 45 to 50. So 10 for the top, 5 for the bottom. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no
There's a
kidding.
little bit in order. So if somebody has some music they can
I can help with that.
Jeopardy.
So I just want to clarify, these are priorities for where we want to spend more money or where we want to take money away from. I mean,
No, I should start back here. So either you are going to kind of rework that service and you're directing the staff to go back and say, let's look at best practices. Let's look at different service delivery. Let's look at cost containment. Let's look at it. But these are areas of focus.
Okay.
For 2023 and 2024. So you're handing the new manager or administrator,
areas of
these are
focus.
areas we think we should focus on. And these are areas that we think, hey, we've got it. They're not as high a priority.
right.
That sort of thing. So we're not really talking as much money as we're talking areas of focus. Commissioner.
You usually try to find the correlation between community priority and commission priority.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep. I should have put that ahead. You are correct.
Well, I think it's interesting that some of them are actually are the same exact thing. You know, I mean, one says overall cleanliness of streets and public areas, and then one says clean up junk, trash, and debris citywide. That's the same thing. So,
So if you want to kind of just put those together and rank them, you can draw them together like that.
community appearance and maintenance is the same thing. Maintenance of streets and neighborhoods is the same thing.
So some of it is city streets that are major city streets. Some of them are neighborhoods.
Well, I didn't see where it said that.
And Chuck, this is where we got in a little bit of trouble because we tried to focus one set of questions broadly and one set of questions down to your neighborhood level.
Right. Gotcha.
It's on maintenance of streets, it's the physical. Street itself, the appearance can be different than the way the question proposed by ETC. Maintenance, physical maintenance on. Yes, it has a lot to do with appearance, but appearance being set.
I think I'll watch you guys do this one. And I think it all ought to be on the same side.
Well, again, if property tax administration means please lower my property taxes, do we all agree that's what it means?
I would say so.
Yes.
I think that's what people take it with survey probably.
Yeah.
More importantly, yeah.
I know, make it work.
Meeting water.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to the bottom.
Where did Melissa find that woman? What'd she say? Where's Melissa find that one about reducing taxes?
I think she's just thinking in general. General thing compared to what.
For most least
That
important.
would be the bottom.
He was gonna help me.
Agree with that?
If it don't meet the top 10, man, take it off his list. Right.
Oh, it's on here, the property tax. one.
Where?
Yeah, it's the third one.
Oh, that's what I thought. Where do you put the number? Where'd you put your number? Over here, right here? What's your number one? Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
Thought about it. I actually got the original report. Now I know how we asked.
Both of those things, I'm gonna be strategic planning and I'm gonna.
well, that's codes. I mean, we should enforce it, right? Because if we, if we do, then we have an abatement team that can go out there and take care of
I'm
it.
taking it as we doing it.
Grab your weed eater and let's go.
All of this is.
Yes.
Well, what about beer?
Once you get good stuff.
Beer.
And bring it back. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. No, that's like trying to eat it without the work.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. See all this joke.
That's the carrot.
Okay. So did my 1 through 10, but now you want the lower five. And we're gonna name those 45 through 50. 45? Yeah.
Okay, while everybody is enjoying their dinner, we're going to go ahead and go back to the list that you've generated, your rankings to compare kind of commission priorities to what the citizen survey said that they thought needed the most improvement, the most emphasis, the most look at to try to make change. And so I'm going to start over here with, okay, I'm going to start over here. I'll start with the mayor.
I did not
Mayor,
follow your rules, and so you do
Can-
not want to start here.
can you give us your number one and we'll see how many people agree with that one in their top 10?
My number one is property tax.
Property tax. Okay. How many people did we have on that one? Top 10. Okay, so that looks pretty consensus oriented there, huh? Okay, great, awesome. Go ahead and give us your number two.
My number two was community appearance, cleanup of junk, trash, and debris citywide.
Okay, so community appearance. How many people had that in their top 10? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. Awesome. And let's go with number three.
The number three I had was mowing, trimming on private vacant property citywide.
Okay,
And that, I guess that kind of goes in with that community appearance as well.
yeah, mowing.
That's why I have like 7 number 2s.
Okay, that's great. All right. So Brian, other than code enforcement, what else do you have in your top 10?
Number 1, maintenance of city streets, maintenance of streets and neighborhoods, maintenance of major city streets, flip it over, and maintenance of alleys and neighborhoods. So
Okay.
basically it's
Infrastructure
Infrastructure.
maintenance. Okay. And it looks like everybody had that in their top 10. Great. Okay,
I apologize for talking with my mouth full.
that's okay. Let's see who has it, doesn't have. Commissioner Burrows, how about you? Do you want to share one of your top items in the top 10? Okay, police visibility. Visibility. Anybody else have police visibility? Okay, so commercial and residential. Okay. All right. Let's go to Commissioner Markley. Give us a top 10. Animal control. Anybody else have animal control? Okay, have a few in there. Animal control in top 10. Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Davis, how about you?
I had overall park and equipment maintenance. So parks and rec, anything related to that.
Parks maintenance. Like maintenance particularly. Okay. Yep, maintenance, okay. Okay, Commissioner Stites. What? Give me one of your top 10, please. Okay, streamlining that. Okay. Okay, great, awesome. Commissioner Ramirez.
Trash collection and recycling.
Trash. Anybody else have trash? Okay. 3. And that one had had most improvement in that area. That was one of them that was high improvement area. So, yeah, perception. Great. Okay, Commissioner Kane.
I'm not really good at following orders.
I'm sure.
So I got public safety, police, fire and sheriffs.
Okay,
I don't care what anybody's survey said. That's what I hear the most about,
okay.
no matter where I go.
So let's dig into that a little bit more. So if you had to kind of prioritize the top out of those, what would you say?
All of them,
Okay, what would you say if you had to prioritize? Not all of them is not a choice.
I would still say all of them.
Okay. Well, then,
Time out.
okay,
My specialty is safety.
okay, so,
So all of them are equally as important.
okay, gotcha. Okay. So, anybody else have, a public safety item in their top 10? Okay. Community policing. Right. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go over here to Commissioner Johnson. Okay. In your top 10. Okay.
Can I
Yes,
share?
please do.
So, that's right.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I have multiple that I've grouped. but
Yes.
One of my groupings was above the ground infrastructure. My other grouping is below the ground infrastructure.
Oh,
And that
interesting.
is the combination of stormwater runoff and management and sewer and wastewater.
Okay. So. All right. Did anybody else have that? Commissioner Kane, did you have that?
Yeah, well, no, I'm gonna.
Nope, you're going to tell us another one. Okay.
Okay, and I'm glad this is on here, county parks. But one of the things that we don't have, and this is across the board, we have very few community centers where we have access to.
Okay. That was one of the items I think was access to community centers.
So and I think that's wherever you're at, in all of Wyandotte County, in all four corners, we do not have enough community centers. And if they are, we don't have enough access to them.
Okay. So that's a little bit different than maintenance of parks and community centers. Okay. Does anybody else have a top 10 they wanted to share? Okay. Anybody else have public transportation? Yep. So we got 3. All right. And anybody else want to share? Commissioner McKiernan? Go ahead.
My last of my top 10 that hasn't been picked is public health services.
Okay, public health. You have public health, 3 public health. All right, Commissioner Davis.
This is probably more specific on the infrastructures, but I hear about it a lot in my district, sidewalks,
Okay,
either maintenance
is
or
it maintenance or connections or both?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Wyandotte County, both.
Okay. Commissioner Markley. Oh, alleys. Okay. Oh, sidewalks. Okay. Anybody else have anything else in their top 10 that's not been mentioned? Mayor? Mhm. Okay. And I assume that question about cost is kind of, it prohibits people from participating, the cost does. Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else have, so we had 2, I think, 3 of those. Anybody else have any other items in their top 10 we haven't discussed? Okay, great. Hold on to your bottom 5. We're going to work on that next. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take these items and we are going to prioritize them based on this quadrant. But first, we need to come up with our vision statement. So Ashley has a vision statement, and we're going to put that up and we can wordsmith on that for a little bit. While she's doing that, our next exercise will be, we'll take those items that you have listed here in terms of your top 10, and there was a lot of consensus, so that's good. We're going to kind of further prioritize that based on, will that help us achieve our vision? And is this an area that needs a high level of improvement, or is it just a priority? Does that make sense? Yes.
Could we move the easel?
Oh, sure. We are going to do that. Yes. Thanks. Yeah, if you guys can't see, let me know. We're kind of in a little tight area here. So we're going to pop up the vision statement. She's working on that. Computer just went to sleep. Here we go. I'll just read this out loud to everyone. Oh, maybe not. So, okay, we are a vibrant, healthy community of compassionate and diverse neighbors working together to create an equitable, resilient future that is uniquely Wyandotte. What do you guys think about that? You like it? No? It's a run-on sentence. Oh, snap. Yeah. 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 We are a vibrant, healthy community of compassionate and diverse neighbors. Semicolon. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Financially healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy. What does that mean? Because we are ranked near the bottom in health. in the state.
So, so I think you could say that healthy could mean a variety of things. It could be physical health, it could be mental health, it could be financial health. Yeah. So, but this is kind of what you're aspiring to. Do you want it to be more specific? Okay.
Bottom in health. Are they going to believe the rest of the vision statement? I'm bringing out for thought. That's.
I think it's an important point to make, because if we use this and we market ourselves with it, we might want to say Wyandotte will be, so that we're being very clear that this is our aspiration.
Right to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What
We will be.
what if we move the healthy part to the working together to create and just
Okay.
say we are a community of we are a compassionate and diverse community of neighbors, whatever, working to create an equitable, healthy, resilient future that is uniquely Wyandotte.
Did you get that, Ashley?
That way we move the
Okay.
health part to the aspirational part of the sentence. Is that?
And Mayor, you had a thought. Was that same thing? Uh-huh. And so you could have the heading be our vision of the future is, or something like that. We, mm-hmm. So we will be, vibrant, healthy community of compassionate and diverse neighbors. And so the idea would be, we work together to create, you could start it that way if you're wanting to flip it. Mm-hmm. There you go. We work together to create an equitable, resilient future that is uniquely Wyandotte. Okay.
Together, is pretty partnering sense of broader end, sense of positive and
Mhm. So, Commissioner McKiernan, you had a thought?
I have a question, and I apologize if you covered this while I was out. What is a resilient future? Define that for me. What's that mean?
Resilient, I think,
What's a resilient future?
does that speak to you guys at all, the term resilient?
That might be part of that first sentence.
Commissioner Davis, did you have a?
Well, maybe that's it. I like what Commissioner Johnson said. We are resilient. So what if we just switch resilient and healthy?
We are a vibrant, resilient community.
Have
That
com-
doesn't
Certainly are not
solve
healthy.
Brian's problem with what is resilient.
Yeah.
Oh,
We are not healthy.
That's right.
but we are resilient. I mean, when I think of resilient, because
We aspire to be healthy.
you asked the part about resilient future. When I think of the word of resilient, I mean, I really think about how our community banded together when COVID came, right? Where we were able to withstand a pandemic and withstand a lot of trials. You think of the Armadale flood. We can think of multiple instances where this community has, stood strong. So that's what I think resilient.
Let me go over here to Commissioner Kane and then Burrows. Yep.
When able to withstand and recover quickly from difficult conditions, and COVID was exactly that.
Yeah.
So we had to make some adjustments for the community so we could get through this. And we did. And I think that each time we're faced with something, we're going to accept the challenge and get through it.
So do you want a more simplistic word or phrase to describe that, kind of that bounce back or withstand? Okay.
Well, I think they're resilient. I think of what our community has accomplished in the last 25 years.
Okay.
Compared to where we were.
Yes.
And what we were. We have continued to work hard, keep our nose down in spite of those that wanted to see us fail. I can remember when no one wanted anything to do with Wyandotte County. Now we've had some successes and everybody wants to control us. Come in and take control.
Right.
And so that's the resilient part I see. We have, our kids have hope in this community. They're living here. I don't know, that's just the resilient part I see. So I do understand and agree with the COVID thing, but I would expeditiously, but that was almost forced on us. That to take a long-term approach to turning our community around economically and how we view ourselves, I think that's the resilient part that I think of when I think of resilient.
Okay. What are other thoughts? Do we like this, how this is organized better now?
Good. Come to the semicolon.
What happened to the semicolon? Do we need it now? No, we didn't have it in there, but we did talk about it previously, prosperous. So,
Is the word working going to stay, or are we going to go with partnering together?
partnering.
Yeah, partnering, it just shows a semblance of groups coming together versus working together.
What do you guys think about that? Partnering or working together? How many people?
Working together really speaks to the end of the person to person level to me.
Yeah,
Partnering speaks to a more organizational as you're talking about. I prefer working together because it speaks to the individuals, you know.
Okay.
What about,
We've got something from the mayor and then we're going to come back to partner and work together. So think about which phrase you'd like better. Go ahead.
I just, if I'm an outsider, not from Wyandotte County, looking to, what does uniquely Wyandotte mean? I know we talk dot proud a lot and I know people have different but what does that really mean? What defines, what makes Wyandotte County unique? What makes us special? I mean, from a broader sense, how do you explain, okay, I'm a dot,
Mhm,
I'm Wyandotte, because that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
mhm.
Some of those could be negative or positive. So how are we defining and looking at ourselves and how do we communicate and message that in a way till it comes across positive to where someone from New York would understand exactly what we're talking about?
Mhm. So previously it's kind of your distinctive neighborhoods, your diverse neighborhoods. That's kind of what the visual I thought of when you were talking about kind of uniquely Wyandotte. So other thoughts on, let's go back to partner versus working together.
collaborate?
So you could say of compassionate and diverse neighbors united.
Uniting. Yeah, I like you.
I like
I
that.
like uniting.
United for an equitable, healthy future.
Yeah.
Make a plug for United for an equitable, healthy, and prosperous future.
Okay.
Well, since we're shortening some of the words, if we use united, then we can add that other word in and not be too.
Well, I was kind of going there too, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So united, I like that connection.
equitable, healthy, and prosperous, or whatever order we think those were. I do think
Maybe
equitable.
take out
is
to
the-
create and just say for
an equitable, healthy,
Prosperous.
and prosperous future. Prosperous and healthy.
maybe prosperous last. Equitable, healthy, and prosperous future. Okay. Are you an Oxford comma person, commissioners? Oxford comma, what do we think?
I'm good on the second
Oh,
half.
it's no
Okay.
comma, no comma.
Right.
It's a big no-no.
Okay, so we are a
No, no,
vibrant,
no, no.
resilient community of compassionate and diverse neighbors, united for an equitable, healthy, and prosperous future. And then let's discuss uniquely Wyandotte before.
Uniquely Wyandotte still speaks to me because I truly believe that there is something quite unique about this community. And it does transcend our diversity.
So does the statement above kind of explain what uniquely Wyandotte is, or maybe you need to adjust it?
I think so. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not raising my hand.
No,
I
you're
forget to
good.
raise
Oh
my
my
hand, so.
gosh.
Let's go to Brian.
You know, I think the mayor is completely right on this one. Those of us who've been around here, I mean, I think I have a pretty good sense of what uniquely Wyandotte means, but I'm not sure that resonates with anybody who doesn't have a background here. And so while I appreciate it and while I would aspire to be that, I think we are already, I think we need to reconsider how we phrase that for all of the people who aren't from here, who want to be here. So.
Go ahead, Mayor.
You're right. It sounds exclusive as opposed to being inclusive. You're not the God, you're not the Wyandotte. And really, we want people to come here to, you know, live, work, and play, right? And,
Okay. Wow, OG got dot. I'm loving this. Okay, Commissioner King.
Well, back in the old days, we put some boxing gloves on. We figured who was from the dot. And you're, Mayor, you're kind of right and you're kind of wrong. Those of us that lived here our entire life, are extremely proud. And when a lot of people move in here, Mary from BPU, I became a dot as soon as I become a dot. And we are unique. And everyone knows it. And Commissioner Burris is correct. 20 some odd years ago, it was a bad thing. Now all of a sudden, people are moving here. We've had more growth than we've had in a heck of a long time. And we need more affordable housing. We need a whole lot more stuff. But this means there are people that have tattoos that say Wyandotte on them. You know, and we all have a certain.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay, we gotta get back on track here. Okay, so
This is important, leaving it the way it is in my mind.
you like uniquely Wyandotte. Is there something that we could say that would be different than that captures that spirit, but makes it so that somebody from the outside would know what that is? Can you guys think of anything? She's on her app. Okay. Yeah.
Did you leave? Negatively. Sorry, guys. What says separately, serious, abnormally, adversely. You look at the right word.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Unique.
at uniquely.
Yeah. So is there something else that you think that maybe we're trying to focus on this, but if you weren't thinking about this, would that apply to any community? What makes it about what you're trying to create? You need it to be a little bit, I mean, I don't want to say unique because I'm not proposing that you keep that. I just think maybe think about.
Well, let's read it without the word. I think
Okay.
it's still- That is one.
Mayor?
What about if you say uniquely Wyandotte? You change the proper future that defines Wyandotte.
Okay. So you're saying to kind of put the Wyandotte is explaining.
Take the is out. That's probably defined.
Okay, so, oops, sorry. So we are a vibrant, resilient community of compassionate, and diverse neighbors, united for an equitable, healthy, and prosperous future that proudly defines Wyandotte. Does that help you guys? Or that defines Wyandotte? Okay. Do you want to keep proudly or just take that out?
Prosperous future that is proudly Wyandotte.
Okay, that is proudly Wyandotte.
I would go with that and take out defines.
Take out
Because it
defines.
speaks to a community pride. And so
Uh-huh.
it speaks to a pride of the community, and that pride doesn't matter where you've been, where you're going, where you came from, but there is a pride in the community.
So does this help you, Mayor Kane and your Mayor Kane? Sorry. Mike Kane. Oh, my. We've lost him. He's gone now, so.
Oh, she caught me.
Talking about in your tattoo, right? Oh my. Okay, we'll get back on track here. I'm going to read this again. We are a vibrant, resilient community of compassionate and diverse neighbors, united for an equitable, healthy, and prosperous future that is proudly Wyandotte. Do we like that? You like that? Okay. How about you? Okay. We're going to keep this phrase up and go to the next part. Bill, my lovely assistant, has sorted your top 10 items that we had listed over here, and we are going to categorize them and prioritize them even more. And so I want you to think about this vision statement. And does it have a low impact on the vision statement or a high impact on the vision statement? So the service, the top 10 service areas that we're talking about, I want you to think about, is it low or high as it relates to the vision? Okay, so give us the first one, Bill. But infrastructure. High. Okay, and while we're on that topic, is that an area that you need a low or a high level of improvement? Okay, so we're just gonna put infrastructure. Yeah, or you can cut it up there. Okay, so infrastructure maintenance is gonna be in the high category. I'll do that while you're.
Second one is community appearance.
Community
Which
appearance,
includes all the elements that you were talking about. Code enforcement.
vision, high and high. Okay. Okay, so high and high on community appearance. What's your next one, Bill? I'll do this part.
These are in no particular order. The next one is property tax, and I just left it at that. It's called administration, but I think you all understood that it was relief. Yeah, understand, but again, according to the quadrants, high impact.
So you feel that high property tax is a barrier to achieving? Absolutely. Okay, next one.
Is parks and recreation.
Okay, let's just face it, they all go in the top quadrant.
That's why we put them in the top 10.
Maybe what we do if you think that, let's go to this. Where did I put that one? Oh, right here. So do you see any of these on here that you think is not important to the vision?
Well, it's all important. It's just
How
somebody,
important?
one person's thing is different than the other person. Not one of us think those are any less important than the other.
Okay, so does anybody see anything on this list that is not important to the vision?
I mean, we could rank them.
Nope,
But
just
they all
in general, what do you have?
Yes, they're all important to the vision.
Well, then let's go through and identify ones that need the most improvement. Okay,
Need improvement.
improvement, which could be resources or retooling, looking at it, looking at different options. Are there any on here that would be the top priority for need improvement? I'm gonna go around the horn, so pick which one you think has, pick the top two that you think need the most improvement. To focus on. Does that make sense? If you look at these right here, which ones need the most improvement? So pick two. We're gonna go with Commissioner Johnson first.
I did. By the way, it's the power seat. I would say that would not happen. That's all right. That's the power seat. That's the. I would say that infrastructure for sure.
Okay.
Probably, well, I tell you, I'm going to go with public health.
Okay.
Wanna go
Does
with public
anybody
health.
else have public health? I know you're all gonna say. Anybody else have public health as their number two?
Well, so I have,
But I think
this really varies community to community, right? A lot, because Bonner and Edwardsville, more rural, they don't really care too much about sidewalks, right? So, so I don't hear so much about infrastructure out that way. Some, it's high, it's up there, but number one, over and above any other is property tax. That's what I hear. We're being taxed out of being able to live in Wyandotte County. Services, county services, outside of Kansas City, Kansas. No, county services. I mean, county services, other two cities that are lacking county services.
What county service would be the number 1 and 2?
County services, I think maintenance,
So infrastructure.
yes. And then I think, and I don't want to pick on our sheriff, but I think sheriff's department.
All right. Let's go to Commissioner.
Property tax and infrastructure. 1 and 2.
Well, I guess I was going in a little bit different direction. Talking about needs improvement. So. If by needs improvement. And we're saying property tax and infrastructure, we mean lower this and more of this. Then I'm gonna agree, but I'm gonna throw out my first 2 thoughts in the needs improvement category, which would have been animal services and public transportation. So I guess it's just what we're defining as needs improvement.
You don't have good service levels there to begin with.
Those service levels could be improved.
Okay. Let's, you kind of said your 1 was property tax. Let's say we improve that reduction. What would you do?
Code enforcement, because I believe through code enforcement, cleaning up our community, the property tax issue will address itself. There will be more value in our neighborhoods, and we can afford to see we will see an incremental enhancement within our community of value.
Okay.
And so that's the 2 I'm going with.
I like property tax.
I would say infrastructure and community appearance or code enforcement, however you want to define it, but same issue, right?
I would say infrastructure as well, whether it be our streets, the need for sidewalks, bridge, all that stuff, stormwater. Obviously, yes, property taxes. When I think of property taxes as a priority, I think of it as lowering our dependence on property taxes to have a budget that's solvent and that can, yes, that's when what I think of property taxes. I will also add parks. In addition to property tax administration, infrastructure, parks would probably be number 3 for me.
You're good. I'm good. Okay. And
Infrastructure. I think that's all on everyone's number 1. Infrastructure and 2 are battling for my number 2. So I'm just going to say both of them. Property tax and parks and recreation, just in general.
Wow. Infrastructure 1, property tax, but I want to explain why. We do not do a very good job when somebody appeals their property tax, the way they're treated when they go through there. And it's going to come up at one of our meetings here pretty quick about how dissatisfied some of the folks live in my district about how they're treated when they're going through this process. So I think you talk about needs improvement. I think that we need a huge improvement. And I'll take this last chance to say, how about a park?
How about a park? All right. So we have about 15 minutes left, really about 5 minutes left. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. So the homework assignment is in your tube. And do you mind if I pull yours out so I can kind of demonstrate? It says focus issue at the top. Here we go. All right, so we like to use this. It's called a process called focus. And the issue here is balancing infrastructure and property tax reduction or solvent revenue or property tax burden, right? So that's your issue, right? That at the top. Balancing the need for infrastructure and property tax. Okay. So this is a process I want you to bring to the next meeting. We asked the question, what's frustrating you about this issue? Obviously, brainstorm some things. Very difficult to do, right? Commissioner Davis talked about maybe you have diverse revenue sources. You think about diversifying. So what's frustrating? The second one is obstacles and objections. What's getting in the way of what you want to happen? So that's the next question. What is getting in the way of that? The third is circumstances and consequences. So if nothing changes, what's likely to happen? Then we'll go back to utopia. What's the best case scenario?
Melissa, what's that next?
Yes, that's wait for a while. I don't think the next one's gonna have enough money. So just wait. And then the final one is I would be satisfied if, this is the most important one, I would be satisfied if. And then turn on the back side and start to write out just a few, 1, 2, 3 ideas for addressing that issue. And you'll bring that to the next meeting and we'll start with that as our discussion. I do want to say that you did 2 things that you said you wanted to get done tonight. Develop a shared vision that guides us. You got that done. So let's clap for ourselves. Yeah. So hard. And thank you so much, Ashley, for your. And then focus our energy on the highest priorities. There was a lot of consensus on these things: essential basic services, infrastructure, and looking for kind of sustainable, equitable service delivery and tax burdens for all. And then creating a financially stable future for all. And then you guys had a lot of consensus there. And then kind of enhancing customer service and responsiveness. And then making better decisions together. We have a lot of consensus. If you focus your attention on these priorities in your discussions, your meetings might not be as long. So think about, you agree, you really do agree on priorities. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Cheryl, and she's going to close out. And thank you so much for your patience and participation.
Thank you. Thank you. So first, I want to thank you, our facilitators, for the evening. And before I close out, I also want to turn it over to Commissioner Davis, who actually submitted the request to convene this meeting with some of his colleagues. And then I have a few closing things for next steps.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, Sheila, and you and your team. You all did a phenomenal job. And so can we give it up for them one more time? They did so good. Yeah, no, Mayor, to my colleagues, thank you all so much. To staff, thank you all so much. We have a lot of work to do to really solving our budget woes and our budget issues. I just hope that we are ready to work. We have a lot of transitions coming up with Ms. Harrison Lee's tenure ending here, and we want to set up our permanent administrator as best as we can, so that they can succeed and so our community can succeed. So Mayor, my colleagues, thank you all so much. And yeah, we will have more opportunities for us to share and keep the conversation going so we have a better budget and a better organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So our next meeting is going to be Thursday, December 8th. It's going to start at 5 o'clock again. We're going to start, we'll need you to bring these back. We will start with the homework assignment. Tonight's meeting, I think, was really good to just kind of put us on a foundation for the next meeting. And we just appreciate you providing us with your candor and your input. And I'd be remiss if I did not recognize the staff because we had several meetings to really plan this. So this is not work that's done in a vacuum. So thank you to all the staff for all the material and all the assistance in preparing this. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison Lee, and thank you to the facilitators, thank you to staff, and more importantly, thank you to the commissioners. This is a well-needed conversation, and I think we all felt good about this. At least I did. Positive dialogue, and we've all came to a point to where we can agree on something that really could hopefully move us forward in having these hard discussions in a good way. And so thank you, everybody, and thank for those that were really involved in moving this conversation. Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Bynum, and I believe Commissioner Markley and Commissioner McKiernan. Am I missing one? And Ramirez. Thank you all. And let's give them a round of applause for having that vision. So this concludes our meeting for tonight. I know we have homework, commissioners. So I'm gonna ask for motion to adjourn. Oh, yes,
Second.
Commissioner Bynum.
Before we adjourn, I'm really averse to homework. So, I mean, like I barely made it through college. And it was because I really hate homework. So I'm just gonna need a gentle reminder, please do your homework. No, sir. But just, okay.
Okay. All right, there is a motion, and I believe there was a no second. I need a second.
Davis, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call Stites, Davis.
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows, Kiernan,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Payne, Markley.
Aye.
Thank you all. We are adjourned. Have a good evening.